Good evening, everybody. I just want to remind everybody if you could turn off your cell phones in case they're on right now. And as we go through each of the different items, if you wish to speak on an item, I will ask for public comments. That includes people on Zoom. If you are in person, you'll just come up to the microphone and make sure that the green light on the microphone is on. If you're on Zoom, you can just raise your hand if you have a public comment. Ryan, if you could start with the roll call.
Richard McAndrew,
Here.
Carolyn Gatus,
Here.
Bob Denlow,
Here.
Ellen DeFate,
Here.
Amy Waldman,
Here.
David Gibson.
Here.
The first item on our agenda is the minutes from March 18th, actually April 1st, sorry, April 1st, 2024. Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. The new business, the first item for new business is 7645 Shirley Drive. We will start with the staff report.
The subject property is located in the northeast corner of Shirley and Cromwell in Wydown Forest. Property is zoned R2 and is developed with a 1.5-story single-family home. Property's location on a corner results in street frontage on both the west and south sides. The home's primary front yard and entry faces Shirley, and the basement and garage is accessed via Carswell Drive. Per section 405-1900A1B, where lots have double frontages or on corner lots, the required front yard setback provisions shall be provided on both streets. The applicant is seeking approval to replace a 4-foot-tall wood picket fence in the front yard along Shirley Drive. The proposed fence is identical to that of the existing fence in location, material, and style. Properties in Wydown Forest neighborhood use a variety of techniques to address screening on corner lots, including a combination of landscaping and fencing. Fences are mostly wood and range from 4 to 6 feet in height. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal is likely to result in a minimal visual impact due to the similarity of the proposed fence to the existing fence and the use of wood fences on corner lots nearby. Staff recommend approval is submitted.
Thanks, Ryan. Is there a representative from the project here this evening? Or maybe somebody online? If you are online and you represent or are 7645 Shirley Drive, can you raise your hand?
The property owner did reach out to me earlier and said that they would try to be on Zoom this evening.
And we can still move forward though, even if there's not anybody. Right? Yeah. I mean, the proposed fence, since it's identical to the existing fence in basically all manners, location, material, and style, I don't have any problem with it, but we can go around.
I didn't see any issues with it either.
No problem.
No comments. Yeah, no issues with it.
Sounds good, David. Forget you. All right, are there any other comments from the audience or anybody online? Not, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is 122 South Hanley Road, the Waterway Car Wash. Is there a representative here for the project? Do you want to come up? Actually, one second. We'll have Ryan summarize the staff report and then you can come up.
Site is located on the east side of Hanley between Colorado Avenue and Crondell Plaza. Property has a zoning designation of high-density commercial and is in the Clayton Plaza Overlay District. Property is currently operating as Waterway Gas and Wash Company. The applicant is seeking approval to add a 14-square-foot window sign to the eastern facade facing Hanley. The current sign composition of the site was approved in November of 2020 by the Architectural Review Board when the site was renovated. A chart provided in the staff report identifies the sign composition. At the time of the approval, the then applicant proposed the elimination of a sign on the western facade of the structure to permit a blade sign that exceeds the size limit for blade signs, and ARB approved that sign. The new sign was not proposed as part of the original submission, although it was on the same facade as the previous sign. The new sign is smaller and is proposed on the window rather than the roof line of the older sign that was removed. Although the sign would be facing Hanley, it would not be easily visible to those traveling along Hanley, as the road runs north to south and the sign faces west. Directly across the road is an office tower with ground floor facade consisting of a walled parking garage. The elevated position of the offices across the street, combined with the sign being under an awning, reduces its visibility to those in the offices. And the sign would most likely be noticed by individuals exiting the parking garage across the street or by pedestrians. Given that the car wash will not typically attract pedestrian activity, the sign is not likely to be used for wayfinding by pedestrians walking on Hanley. Given that the sign meets the requirements for new window signs and has a lesser visual impact than the sign previously rejected by ARB, and the limited visibility of the new location, staff are of the opinion that the sign would have a minimal visual impact and recommend approval if submitted.
Thank you. Do you want to come up, sir? And I don't know if you have any comments or.
Well, I'm Mike Goldman. I'm Vice President, General Counsel, Waterway Gas and Wash. And as Ryan pointed out, it's a pretty simple sign. The wall currently was not as we initially brought in the plan and as the plan developed. And frankly, it just looks empty. So it is recessed. It's not on the window. It's about 2.5 or 3 feet in off the window. We think it just sort of completes the picture a little bit there. So happy to answer any questions, but I think it's a pretty simple sign.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it looks nice. And I mean, I live nearby, so I drive by there constantly. So I think it would be a nice addition to the facing area of the gas station or facing area of the car wash. So, but I will see if anybody else has any other comments. Carolyn?
I did not have any comments.
No comment. Yeah, it looks good.
I don't think that there's anybody online with any comments. There's a picture for everybody. I will, see, I don't think there's any other, no comments online or anything. Sounds good. I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, you've got your sign.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, the next item on our agenda is a new home for Forest Ridge Place. Are there people in the audience for the project? Great. We'll wait, we'll do the staff report first and then you guys can come up.
So this first staff report that I will summarize is just for the site plan review. Subject property is located on the south side of Forest Ridge Place. The site is zoned R1 and is vacant aside from a garage referred to as the carriage house. The proposed scope consists of the construction of a new single-family home and renovation of the garage. A detailed site plan review analysis may be found in the staff report, and I'll summarize some of those key points. The site is surrounded by R1 lots, and it meets the height, setback, and coverage requirements for the district. HVAC units would be located on the southeast side of the home and screened by a combination of landscaping and fencing. Trash would be stored in the adjacent garage. Impervious coverage would increase from 11.42 to 13.46%. Stormwater runoff would increase from 0.162 cubic feet per second to 2.186 cubic feet per second. Downspouts would connect to a flow well with a pop-up emitter. Existing canopy coverage is 67,591 square feet with 9,798 square feet to be removed. The plan proposes adding 2,750 square feet of canopy coverage, which is 7,472 square feet more than the replacement requirement. The plan also exceeds the native species requirement with 80% native proposed. Staff are of the opinion that the project meets the requirements of site plan review and recommend approval with the condition that the applicant record a deed restriction noting the location and maintenance requirements of the flow well system and shall submit proof of that recording prior to issuance of a building permit.
All right, thank you. Would someone like to come up and make any comments just related to site plan review?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Gershman. I'm an attorney here on behalf of Richard and Josephine Weil, who are the owners of the lot at number 4 Forest Ridge. We have with me, Dick and Josephine Weil, and Laurent Hedquist and James Timberlake from the architectural firm Kieran Timberlake, and our civil engineer, Doug Leipzinger, all available to answer any questions. We have a sort of an overarching presentation. I don't know how you want to handle that in terms of the three separate hearings.
I think it's up to you. I mean, we can take some comments on site plan. I mean, the site plan review might be a little bit less to talk about maybe than the architectural review, but I mean, I'm flexible. So if you want to go through everything now, it's kind of up to you.
I think that's what I would do if it's all right
Okay.
with the
be
commission. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the project, then have the architects and the engineers speak. So this Forest Ridge is a interesting little enclave in Clayton. It's got 6 lots. Only one of them doesn't have a house on it. And that's the lot we're talking about. It had a house that was probably 100 years old, torn down, I believe, in 2016, purchased by Dick and Josephine in 2019. There was a guy who bought it, tore the house down, was intending to build a new house that he would live in with his new bride. That didn't go so well. And a couple of years later, he put it on the market. And Dick and Josephine, who live right next door at number 3 Forest Ridge, where they've been for the last, I think, 38 years, bought the house in 2019 and considered for a long time on exactly what to do with the lot. Number 4, the empty lot, is heavily landscaped. While the main house was torn down, there's a carriage house garage deep in the back of the corner of the lot that was not torn down. That too, probably 100 years old. Maybe it had some work done through the years, but maybe not. It's in pretty bad shape. So the Wiles have decided that they wanted to build a new house on this lot and to renovate the carriage house in a manner that would be consistent with the new house. Kieran and Timberlake are familiar with St. Louis. They did the East End addition to Washington University, so they've got a fair amount of experience with our neighborhoods in Clayton and the style in which houses are built here. So with that, let me just introduce Laurent Hedquist from the architecture firm and have him explain to you a little more about the project.
There, if anyone actually wants me to hand them to them. That's why I brought them loose, because it would work out that well. So. Second here. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having us today to talk about this project. So what I'll do is I'll give what I hope to be a fairly brief introduction to the project, both just generally in terms of the architectural principles, the site planning principles, planting, and briefly talk about the materials. And then I'll hand it over to Doug for any specific site planning questions that you all might have before I come back to discuss the architecture. So as we all know, this is Forest Ridge Place. Generally located southwest of Wydown at Big Bend. The 4 up there indicates the general location of the property on the south side of Forest Ridge Place. Zoning in and zooming in just a little bit more into the property. Current occupants, Richard and Josephine, live at number 3. 4, as Jeff mentioned, The actual location of number 4 up there, the placement of the 4 icon is where the original house stood. The current driveway was the original driveway for the house, and you can see the driveway that exists that currently leads down to the southwest corner of the property, which is where the original carriage house currently sits. To the east is number 5, and then generally to the northeast is number 6. Street view of the property. So this is a view towards the property looking south. The east, I should say the west end entry of the driveway is on page right, and then just off of page left would be the east end entry of the circular driveway. Way back in the view, you can just get a glimpse of the dormers of the carriage house. So there's a fairly significant grade drop from the sidewalk and the street down to that back end corner where the carriage house currently sits. A few more contextual photographs of the project, kind of moving from kind of the frontispiece of the property. The east driveway entry, which is the current curb cut. The driveway is currently macadam, blacktop, and the sidewalks and the curb cuts and the entry drives are exposed aggregate. The view west in that middle upper row with a view of number 3 in the background, showing some of the mature trees in the foreground of the property. And then finally, the west driveway entry from Forest Ridge Place. The 3 lower hand images in the lower hand row generally show a progressive series of photographs as you descend the driveway, the existing driveway, down towards the existing carriage house. Existing carriage house comprises a brick first floor and then an upper story with the existing dormers. And you can see the existing wood deck that was added at some point in the not too recent past. So zooming back out just a little bit more contextually, on the left-hand side, the existing house at 3 Forest Ridge Place, Tudor Revival House, 5 Forest Ridge Place, Georgian, and then finally 6 Forest Ridge Place at the opposite end of the street as well. So just giving you a general understanding of the south side of Forest Ridge and the overall streetscape in that location. And then further context, generally showing that the proposed house sits roughly equidistant between number 3 and number 5. Site plan generally takes advantage of the existing driveway to form an entry to a new house. House is roughly 1,800 square feet with an attached or semi-attached garage, depending on how you want to define it, to the west, and then a realigned driveway that takes you down to the existing carriage house to be renovated, subject to a different conversation. Generally, the idea is to site this house within the landscape, hence its lower slung proportions, taking advantage of the existing landscape and existing grade. The idea is this really sits within the current assemblage of landscape, trees, and plantings that have already been in place for a number of years on this property. And of course, the pool and the terrace behind the street completely covered by the new house. Plan-wise, the program is fairly modest. A kitchen, a single bathroom, a sleeping area, dining area, living area. And then you can see the garage to the west and an access way, which you can see in the top northeast corner of the terrace, which leads down to a basement, but also provides access to a changing room on the exterior. The pool is 25 yards in length, full lap pool, so 75 feet with a couple of dimensions, 10 feet in its narrowest end, all the way to 6 feet, 16 feet, I should say, at the easternmost end. Materials, we're going for a relatively simple, calm palette of materials. As you can see right in front of me, the primary component of the exterior facade is this forest green glazed brick. supplemented by exterior metals of both kind of the bronzish, dark gray bronzish material, and then also an exterior metal that would be painted to match the green brick. The terrace stone is a type of bluestone, which you can see right in front of me. And then any exterior wood structure will be a wood finish that we're still working on just in terms of that overall appearance. But suffice it to say, we'll have some exposed wood on the exterior, but the majority of the exterior palette is that dark forest green paint, and then a darkish bronze gray, really intended to kind of knock that overall architectural impact into the landscape. Plantings will continuously be developed, but we've worked with the Wiles landscaper, gardener, the arborist as well, just in terms of the ground cover and the trees themselves, to go obviously for as many native species as possible. Shade tolerant species as well, given the overshading of many of the mature trees on that site. And moving through the kind of higher hedge conditions as well. And then finally, the larger replacement trees on the site. So there'll be 5 new trees on the site, kind of scattered around the general property. Finally, just working through a series of views here. So this is the front elevation from the sidewalk, showing the new gate that leads into the rear of the property, flanked by the garage, which is mostly concealed on the right-hand side by the forest green brick. The intent, obviously, in terms of the living quarters, is to maximize exposure to daylight and natural light. And then further on, as you move towards the east, the privacy screening wall. So the intent here is to create a garden wall, if you will, concealing some of the activities in the background, but really affording the occupants as much access to daylight and views both towards the street, frankly, but also towards the south of the property. An alternative view here from the approach from the west driveway, showing the garage, the clear story windows, which are roughly 3 feet in height. And then as you move towards the eastern end of the property, the windows are roughly 8 feet in height in this view, sitting on approximately a 4-foot sill. The eastern view, beyond which is the pool and the terrace. The view to the gate, which is would still be under design, but the intent is that would be some sort of laser cut gate, floral pattern, an organic pattern that begins to really compensate and work within the palette of the plantings that we've selected. And then zooming on down towards the hill, showing the repurposed, realigned driveway that leads down to the renovated carriage house. The intent with the carriage house is to match as much as possible the intent and the characteristics of the new property at the top of the hill. So that would include new paint on the existing brick, new windows, painting of the existing garage door, and a new dark roof. Finally, that view as well. So that sums up kind of the overall introduction to the project. So I think now we can get back to the site planning portion. So any technical questions that you might have, I'll hand it over to Doug for that.
Thanks, Lauren. Good evening. As Lauren described, the site itself is pretty landscaped already. The building was situated to avoid as much as possible impacts to existing trees. Stormwater drains from the northeast area towards the southwest for the most part. As far as stormwater runoff, we're using a dry well system to handle the increase in flow from the new house, and that is located in the rear of the house property area. And there's also, this wasn't taken into the count, but to provide additional sustainable features on the house, they're looking at potentially doing green roof and the pavement's gonna be like a grass pave, so it's not gonna be quite as, I mean, I'm showing it as an impervious surface now, but it's really gonna be somewhat pervious.
What are you saying is going to be pervious, the driveway or part of the,
Uh,
I just didn't, I missed the first part. of
So
what you
I'm,
said.
I'm showing it as like a more conservative, as if it's all one paved driveway, which it is, but it has holes in it
Oh,
for like
okay.
grass paved.
That's great.
So water is not gonna run off of it as quickly as you might for a normal driveway. So really, even though I didn't take that into account because I wanted to make sure the dry well itself would provide more than enough storage for the stormwater, but there's additional features that are gonna likely be implemented.
So the green roof may or may not.
I think
You're
right
still
now the
thinking about
plan
it.
is for it to happen, but I'm not 100% sure if it will.
Yeah, no, that's.
I don't think it's
mean,
visible, right?
Not visible, yeah. We,
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So aerial,
Sounds good. Do you have anything else?
no, unless you guys have questions.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. It's frankly really refreshing to, have a house that is gonna have, that's gonna really drastically, the impervious versus pervious coverage is always a big issue in Clayton, and this
Yeah.
is obviously very refreshing. It's also great that so much of the existing canopy will be, preserved, and also that you're adding more, and so much of it is native, so that's wonderful. So, I didn't have any other comments on site plan, but I'll see if any of the other commission members do.
No, I think it looks great. I have experienced that grass pavers can get clogged and have some issues. So it might end up being that you would do sand or something over time.
Yeah, I think we haven't 100% decided what it's gonna be, but that's
Yeah.
what the intent is right now.
Start that way and see what happens. I know that at Missouri Botanical Garden, they can't even keep up with it, and that's Missouri Botanical Gardens.
Yeah, yeah.
If anybody's gonna keep up with it, it would be them. So, but the idea there is great, sustainability wise.
it plays a sustainability role, but it also adds to the idea of just removing black stripe, this dark
Yes.
stripe of
Yes.
pavement, again, further kind of incorporating the property into the landscape.
Yeah, no, I think you couldn't design anything that would fit better into a landscape than this building and the site plan. I kind of wish that the landscape plan wasn't just a list in a hatch. But I think you're still developing, and it is away from the road anyway, so it's up to you. And I know the Weil family, and I know the quality that will happen here, so. I don't think I had, tree protection fencing. You'll have that around the entire construction area. Excellent. Okay, that was all I had.
Bob, you might want to, your microphone's just off.
Don't have any concerns, and I echo Carolyn's comments about the owners. They're great people, and there's no issue about that. And but the 800-pound gorilla in the room is basically this: why are we building such a small house when everything around it is so much bigger?
Are we addressing that?
Is it
Yeah,
going-
maybe, can we wait till we
can-
get to the
we
architecture?
can wait on that one, but that, just so you know, that's just what's lingering in my mind. And what otherwise is lingering in my mind, have other owners made any comments about that to you? That's all. I'll pass from this point on.
As far as the site plan goes, you've answered all my questions. And I would say ditto to what Carolyn said about the grass pavers. They're really a challenge. So, but sand works. So that's it. Looks good.
Yeah, I have no issues with the site plan, but it looks really good.
Is there anybody in the audience or online that has comments just about the site plan review? Yes, sir. If you want to come up to the microphone and then just state your name and where you live for the record, that would be great.
My name is Alan Kalb. I live at 5 Forest Ridge,
Okay,
where I have been a resident for almost 38 years. There's a great part of me that says, if you own something like a piece of property, you ought to be able to do whatever you want with it. But if everyone agreed with that, we wouldn't need an architectural review board. All of the houses currently existing in Forest Ridge are at least 6,000 square feet in size. And as senior trustee, I've spoken since I've got this agenda, spoken with all the other residents of the Ridge. And I told them I would not quote them or speak specifically for them. But I will tell you that each of them mentioned that whatever is done, and we didn't know until today what's proposed, whatever is done should be done consistent with Forest Ridge, which is multiple story, large houses. Something that's in keeping with the neighborhood. Now, subject of in keeping with the neighborhood has nothing to do with the cost of a house or the beauty of a house. And as you all know, and as I know from 38 years as being our neighbor, Josephine and Dick do not do anything that isn't beautiful and well thought out. But I would say that a scale model of the Taj Mahal would be beautiful and well thought out, but totally inappropriate for that place, for that lot. And I'm thinking that an 18 square foot single family house might be totally inappropriate and out of place and might therefore have an impact on the other lots, the value of the other lots in the subdivision. Thank you.
is there anybody else that would like to talk about the site plan? All right, if there are no more comments, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
One opposed? All right, so the motion for the site plan passes. So now we will get into the architectural review components of it. So
Forest Ridge is a smaller subdivision in Clayton with only 6 lots and 5 homes. Surrounding homes range in height from 1.5 to 2.5 stories and were constructed between 1909 and 1921. They comprise of brick with stone or stucco and contain a variety of surrounding patios and landscaping. Driveways vary in configuration and material. Large trees provide a canopy over much of the neighborhood, creating a forest-like environment. The subject property previously included a home that was constructed in 1911 that was demolished in 2016. The carriage house, later converted to a garage, remains. The proposed home is considerably less prominent than existing homes and is of a more modern design. It would be a single-story construction of brick and would retain much of the existing canopy coverage on site. The house would measure 1,889 square feet, while surrounding homes exceed 4,000 or 8,000 square feet. The character of the home incorporates a greater use of straight lines, right angles, and window walls, while surrounding homes incorporate traditional characteristics of Tudor, Georgian, or other traditional Clayton architecture. The exterior would be a dark green brick with bronze windows. The brick exterior would extend to a wall surrounding a pool and bluestone patio at the rear of the home. The existing driveway would be demolished, shift slightly in location, would be constructed of grass pavers. The carriage house would remain, but would be renovated to include a second-level accessory dwelling unit, referred to as an ADU. The exterior would be a forest green with a bronze roof and windows. Landscaping is proposed throughout the property. Although the new home would be smaller than surrounding homes and may differ in architectural style, staff are of the opinion that the reduced massing and retention of most existing landscaping will result in a minimal visual impact. The home differs from those nearby, but is designed to blend with the natural environment. The siding, height, and material and colors will create a striking building that has a subtle impacts to the trees and landscaping on the site. Staff are of the opinion that the structure would contribute to the forest-like environment of Forest Ridge, would have a minimal visual impact. Staff recommend approval as submitted.
I would simply just repeat my opening statements and introduction about the house. I think I'm ready for any comments or questions that have to do with the architecture of the project. I can certainly flip back to any views, images, discussion of the materials that anyone would like to discuss.
I guess I'll ask too, if there are any if any members of the public are here to speak more to the architecture of the project, you're welcome to come up, or if there's anybody on Zoom that has any comments on the architecture. No? Well, we'll just go around. There might be questions for you. I guess I kind of echo what Bob started to bring up. What are the owner's thoughts? What are their, it is a significantly smaller house where oftentimes in Clayton, I mean, it was just a few months ago that we had a room full of people that were very upset by a house that was huge in comparison to some of the other homes. So I'm just kind of curious what the owner's thoughts are on building such a modern house in this neighborhood.
If I could address that. And we talked about this. We considered our choices. Sort of the obvious choice, first of all, you cannot replicate the houses that are in Forest Ridge now. Even if you had an unlimited budget, you can't build the kind of houses that are there now. So if you want to build a big house, because the other houses in Forest Ridge are big, you end up with a McMansion. We didn't think that was in keeping with the neighborhood. The sizing might have been in keeping with the neighborhood, but the appearance and the integration into the neighborhood wouldn't fit. And the Wilds are very committed to a heavily landscaped lot. This lot, it's like a park. There's trees everywhere. Their own house next door has a Bob Castley designed reflecting pond, lake. I'm not sure what you want to call it, but it is, I don't know if you all have seen the back of their house, but it's spectacular. And so we thought about, okay, what makes sense here? In addition to what fits with their lifestyle. They wanted something on one floor. And it didn't make sense to do something 6,000 square feet. It just didn't make sense. This isn't 1911 when the subdivision was built. It's 100 years later. And so the houses that you're seeing built in some circumstances are different in size. Does that mean it's inappropriate? Not at all. And we've got photographs of other different houses that one might argue don't fit the existing architecture of those subdivisions throughout Clayton. So this is nothing new for Clayton. And you all probably know that better than we do, seeing the different proposals. Is it smaller? Yes. But does it make sense? We think it does. So that's our thinking. You know, we had a certain number of options, and we felt and we feel that this is the best option for this lot. It's going to be a spectacular house, and it's going to integrate into the lot beautifully. So we're proud of what the architects have come up with, and we think the city's going to like it.
I mean, I think it's a beautiful home. I think it's wonderful to be able to situate a house. I mean, this was part of site plan to be able to situate a house so that you can save trees rather than remove trees. I especially appreciate that. And you know, I think, again, I think it will situate, I think the way the staff says that the structure would contribute to the forest-like appearance of the surrounding area is especially on point. But why don't we go around? Some of my counterparts might also have some questions for you.
Did you build in any kind of contingency within the design that it could expand via the next owner?
I don't know if we specifically built in any contingency, but that has certainly been kind of in the back of our minds as we're talking through the structure. Whether that expansion is a horizontal expansion or a vertical expansion is something we'd have to explore further.
I could see horizontal, actually. At your plans, that it could start creeping a little bit.
Certainly.
Um,
Of course, the siding of the house is very much predicated on preserving as many trees as possible, especially the 3 large trees at the the southern, what I'd call the extents of the terrace and the garage. So, not getting into it a little bit deeper, it would have to take some craft and some care.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Just addressing the comments about value of, it would bring down property value. I don't think that is even remotely true. I think given the pedigree of the architecture firm, it's going to increase the value of the homes around it. So I completely disagree with that. This is art. And you can't, and I understand the downsizing idea. One level, make it simple, less to take care of, less to all of that. I love it. So I really didn't have any other comments on it. So.
I don't think we judge a house by what's next door necessarily. I think the design is brilliant. I love that. I really do. I like the idea of all the greenery, making it part of a forest walk to get to this building. I'm still a little concerned, however, to build an 1,800 square foot home next to a 6,000 square foot and 8,000 square foot home, that somehow it could have maybe an adverse impact. I agree with Carolyn somewhat. I don't think it's going to have much, in part because the nature of the subdivision is such that these are very large lots. They're almost each self-contained. You don't have to know what's next door to really appreciate what is in front of you. I think it's very creative. I don't know anything about the architecture pedigree, but the result is terrific in that sense. I do have lingering concerns about the size, however. I can understand what the neighbors feel, their concern, but it's not the design. There are a lot of places where there are great modern designs that really make the neighborhood even more significant, more interesting, more attractive because of that diversity. I mean, God forbid we don't live in West County where every house looks the same, with tract housing. I kind of like that. I don't think it's going to take away from the adjoining homes. I really don't. But I think I'm still scratching my head on why so small in a subdivision where the homes are quite large. And you say, well, because we didn't add a second floor. I get that. I mean, but I think in the end, I will support it, but I have that lingering concern.
I love it. Normally, the context, it being contemporary and the other adjacent, somewhat remote though, houses being so much larger and more traditional in the architecture, that this would bother me being so different. But given its size, the siding, the choice of materials, I think it'll be a plus for the neighborhood. So I like it. I relate to the 1,800 square feet. Why build more if you don't need it? And being an architect, I see the possibility for adding here, going up, out, different things. And there's certainly enough room on the site, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. It'll be hard through the trees. But,
We're looking forward to it too. Thanks.
pardon.
We're looking forward to seeing it as well.
I think it's beautiful also. I think it works really well in the context of the property. I am in agreement where I feel it's a little in the context of the neighborhood and the 6 lots. I do think it's out of place. And I'm curious like why, you have this very modern house and then you decided to keep the carriage house and not do really anything with that, and just like how it kind of relates kind of to the overall property. The size is a little hard because as Bridget mentioned, we kind of fought tooth and nail to downsize a house that was out of context in an overall neighborhood that it was too big for the neighborhood. And so this, I do understand the neighbor's concern with it. Now, I have no idea if it's going to drop, property value or what, but, and I do appreciate are the owners planning to live here and, like, it is like what, Bob was saying, it's kind of a conundrum. Like it's an interesting conundrum. I do think the house is beautiful, but can you speak to like why like the carriage house, you're not touching that?
I think out of respect of trying to keep as much of the existing history of the site in place as well. There's a recognition that the carriage house in its current state actually serves a function for the Wiles. And we would like it to continue to serve that function. We as architects, I can say at least for myself, are not advocates for tearing things down that shouldn't be torn down if they can continue to serve a purpose. And in this case, the structure, the bones of that adjacent carriage house are in good shape. And we hope that, again, it continues to serve its purpose. The same, I think the same way that had the original house been on this site, I'm not sure we would have advocated for tearing down the house. But the fact is that the house was torn down prior to our commission on this project. And it only makes sense to preserve as much of the landscape and to minimize disturbance on this site as possible. And while trying to modernize it, bring it into a modern purpose that the Wiles can use, and then hopefully with the proposed architectural treatments, bring it at least in line and in conversation with the house at the top of the hill.
Thank you.
Any other comments, David?
I don't have any additional comments.
Anybody else in the audience or online? Thank you so much for everyone's comments. If there's no other comments, I will, and Mr. Hum, I'll say thank you very much for your comments. I think everybody on the board understands your concern. So I appreciate you coming and voicing those.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
We invited every neighbor over to look at a model in this more or less the same presentation. Some came, some didn't. Nobody has expressed to us any opposition to this. What you and I heard tonight is the first time I've heard that comment from any of the neighbors, any of the trustees.
And I just want to say too, I think, any sort of change can be difficult. This is a very different looking home than some of the other homes in Forest Ridge, but I think as, I think Bob said too, and what Helen said, I think some of what will be, it is a beautiful home, but some of what will be so different about it that might bother some, I think it will be tucked away, amongst the trees and the flowers. So I think that, and might ameliorate some concerns by people. So, but thank you. If there's no other comments, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And I was just gonna ask too, the site plan review, there was a staff recommendation that I don't think we mentioned. Is that okay that it was not part of the motion?
Carolyn's motion said with staff
Oh, it
recommendation.
did? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't even hear that you say that. Okay. Yes, yep. Sorry, I don't know why I missed that. All right, and then the last part of for Forest Ridge Place is we are going to discuss the conditional use permit for the accessory dwelling unit.
Project scope includes the renovation of the carriage house and to contain an accessory dwelling unit or ADU. The ADU would be 588 square feet and is proposed to be occupied by guests or a domestic employee. ADUs are permitted in the R1 district up to 2,000 square feet. The carriage house is located at the rear of the property and is proposed to be renovated. Staff are of the opinion that there is adequate parking and that the ADU would be adequately screened from the street. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal meets the requirements contained in the regulations governing ADUs and recommend that the board recommend approval with the following conditions. One, that all conditions of Chapter 405, Article 2, Section 405330 shall be adhered to. That the applicant shall record a deed restriction pursuant to item 3 under criteria for review with the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds Office and submit proof of that required deed restriction to the city prior to the issuance of a building permit.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Do you want to make any comments?
mean,
The
I
big
think-
thing with this is just, there's always a deed restriction that has to be complied with. I think that was in the staff report or one of the recommendations. And just ensuring that, whoever lives in the dwelling unit is either employed by or a relative of or a visitor of the home.
Understand those restrictions and will abide by them.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from? All right, are there any comments from the audience or online? If there are no more comments, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the 2 staff recommendations.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. You guys are on your way.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Should I close this stuff? Okay.
The next item on the agenda is 808 Francis Place. We'll begin with the site plan review and then proceed with the architectural review. Is there a representative for the project present? Okay, great. We will start with the staff report and then you guys can come up and comment.
Subject property is located on the east side of Francis Place between Roxford Drive and Halifax Drive. Property is zoned R4 and is within the Clayshire Urban Design District and is developed with a single-family home. Property was approved for a residential addition in May of 2021 and commenced construction in the following months. Construction of the previously approved project began with the demolition of the previous garage but was abandoned, and the property was eventually sold to the current owner. The applicant is proposing a single-story residential addition. The full analysis of site plan review can be found in the staff report, and I'll provide some of those key points. R4 properties nearby typically contain multifamily, whereas this lot contains a single-family home. Properties to the south are R4, while properties to the north are R2 and contain single-family homes. HVAC is proposed at the rear of the structure adjacent to the basement access. Trash would be stored within a wooden enclosure adjacent to the garage. Impervious coverage would increase to 38.7%. Proposed stormwater runoff would increase by 0.032 cubic feet per second to 0.664. Downspouts would connect to a flow well with a pop-up emitter. No landscaping plan was required as part of this scope, but most landscaping is proposed to remain. As proposed, the project meets the height, setback, and coverage requirements of the R4 district. Staff recommend approval with the condition that a tree protection plan be provided as part of the building permit.
Thanks, Ryan. Would the applicant like to come up and make any additional comments?
I don't have any additional pardon?
What's your name?
Oh, Rich Mayfield,
Okay.
sorry. I don't really have any additional comments to make. I did notice about the tree protection plan. We did a job in Kirkwood years back where we had to put some T-post and orange fence around the trees at a specific radius, which should be no problem to do, but it mentions Article XXX. Is that some specific requirements that you guys have?
That, there, we can provide you with the detail of it, but it's pretty much what you've described.
Okay,
Are you so you're not the owner, you're the.
I am
architect?
the owner, yes.
You're the owner?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you just took over ownership or you bought it recently or?
We bought it last July.
Okay. So you weren't the original owner when the addition was originally
No.
approved?
No,
Okay,
I guess they put it up for sale.
Okay.
And we bought it middle of July and have been working on the plans ever since.
okay, great. Well, I don't have any problems with any of the site plan. I mean, the impervious coverage goes up a little bit, but still under what the maximum is. I am the aldermanic representative on this commission and I've heard a lot of the neighbors, they are looking forward to having this property
Yeah,
Um,
we've heard the same.
better taken care of and they're just, it's kind of something you see as soon as you come into Francis Place. So it will be great, to get the project underway and so that people know what's happening and see some improvement. So
Yeah,
let's see if anybody else on the commission has comments related to the site plan.
I did not.
None.
None.
No comment.
David. Anybody in the audience have comments on the site plan for 808 Francis Place or online? Seeing none, I will take a motion.
Should we clarify the XXS X for the vote or?
That's just the code of our adopted landscape and tree regulations.
XXX.
Yes, it really
Oh.
is.
I thought it was a placeholder.
Nope.
That's
so did I at
hilarious.
first.
Never mind. I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, site plan review is passed. We'll move on now to the architectural review portion.
I do have one more comment on the site plan.
Mhm.
I don't know if this would fall under site plan or architectural review, but my engineer told me we have around 450 square feet available for more impervious cover. Would there be any objection to, I know it's not located on the site plan, but it would be right off the steps, a 12 by 16 patio?
I will defer to our planning director probably to answer that question.
So amendments that are within the allowed impervious coverage, you can apply for that as approval as part of your building permit.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty, thank you.
The surrounding area consists of a mix of single-family and multifamily homes. Homes to the north are mainly single-family, brick with front-loading garages, while those to the south are primarily two-story multifamily structures with below-grade parking. Proposed addition would be a single story on the south side and would include expanded living space and a front-loading garage. Although the Clayshire Urban Design District encourages rear or detached garages, the proposed front-loading garage aligns with the prevalent neighborhood style and uses an existing driveway constructed for the addition that was never completed. The addition's design and materials include brick veneer and hardy board matching that of the existing structure. A new exposed aggregate walkway is proposed to connect the driveway to the front entry. Staff are of the opinion that the addition is compatible with the existing structure and surrounding area. Staff recommend approval as submitted.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments on the architecture that you would like to make?
We do have some photos of we're planning on slightly changing the color scheme of the house. Right now it's white trim with a bluish gray color. We're looking at going for a white or slightly off-white with a black trim
Okay.
and windows. And I had one more comment. I brought it up to my architect recently, and it was based on the front elevation. I don't know if you guys have a picture of that from the submitted plans. There it is. From the front on the windows, if you go from the left to the right, it's got the double hung, then it's got the 3-light slider. then it's got another double hung and then a single double hung, and then you get to the garage door. It would drastically help our interior layout if we could make in between the front door and the garage those single hung windows and close off. If you're looking at that double one just to the right of the door, if we could close off the left one, then it would be double, the 3 light, 2 single hungs equally spaced apart, and then the garage door.
I mean, I don't have any problem with that. Does that have to be submitted like as part of the,
No, you can approve that tonight.
okay. I will go around and see if anybody has any
Okay.
problems with it. It doesn't seem like that would substantially alter the front of the home.
Okay.
So, so just in terms of the report as it came out, I don't think that I don't have any problems with what was submitted. In terms of the color change, I mean, I think that the white with the black accent, looks really nice. I wouldn't have any problem with it, but, and I wouldn't mind changing the double hung windows to change, just to facilitate the inside of the house. But
Okay.
again, I'm just one member, so we can go around and see what everybody else thinks.
I don't have any additional comments.
I like the white.
What material are the windows?
I was gonna use vinyl outside and inside, black on the outside, white on the inside.
Are they wood windows clad or
I
true
I
vinyl?
I hadn't, it would be true vinyl, but we don't have them purchased yet, but that's the most cost-effective option for us, but
I don't believe we allow vinyl.
okay,
They could be wood vinyl clad or metal clad.
okay.
Otherwise, I like the black and white. I think that'll look great.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it looks good. I don't mind switching of the windows either.
okay.
So if there are any other comments online, it doesn't look like anybody has their hands up. Anyone in the audience related to the architecture for 808 Francis Place? Seeing nobody else. David, do you have any other? Sorry, I was. Okay. I will take a motion. I think we'll have to change it up a little bit.
I'll make a motion to approve with the recommendation that the vinyl windows be wood and vinyl clad,
Okay,
as opposed to 100% vinyl.
Second.
And then will we have to, do we need to change up the window, like changing up the architectural appearance? So also
So yeah, so you can clarify as described.
and then also adding just
Oh.
double hung windows would be separated as described by
Okay,
the applicant.
Okay,
I guess.
and also, let's make it a number 2, that the double hung windows would be separated out and be 2 individual.
Carolyn, on number 1, rather than calling out the specific type, can we just say that it's approved materials? That way he can
Okay,
chop different
Shop
clad
around.
options. Yeah.
all right, so number 1,
Thank you.
revision. Make a recommendation that the vinyl windows be changed into approved material.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Sounds good. Look forward to seeing improvements to the property.
Thank you. You guys can keep it. We have copies, so. You.
You're welcome. All right, the last item on our agenda is 8136 University Drive. Is there a representative for the project present? Okay, great. We'll hear the staff report first, and then you guys can come up and make any comments. We'll do site plan review first and then do architectural review.
Subject property is located on the south side of University Drive between North Forsyth Boulevard and North Brentwood Boulevard. The property is zoned R2 and is in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District. Property is currently developed with a two-story single-family home with a front entry garage. The applicant is seeking to demolish the existing home to construct a two-story single-family home with a detached garage. The property is surrounded by R2 lots containing two-story single-family homes. HVAC units are proposed to be at the rear of the home adjacent to the entry steps. Trash is proposed adjacent to the garage. Both the HVAC and trash enclosures are proposed to be vinyl. Vinyl is not a permitted material and is addressed further in the architectural staff report. Coverage is proposed to increase from 34% to 54.5%. New homes in Clayton Gardens often include a variety of exterior gathering spaces such as porches, decks, or patios. Additionally, staff have observed a pattern of increasing applications pertaining to new decks, patios, pools, and other exterior renovations to increase the size of outdoor gathering and seating in recent years. As proposed, the property is just below the maximum allowed 55% coverage and contains no exterior gathering space. It is not a requirement to include the exterior gathering space. However, no such would be permitted to be constructed without the approval of a variance by the Board of Adjustment or approval of alternative compliance by the Plan Commission. This observation was provided as a review comment to the applicant. Given the frequency of the applications for new exterior gathering spaces, staff are of the opinion that the applicant should consider revisions to include such a space rather than create conditions in which an applicant would need to demonstrate hardship or exceptional circumstance to create such a space. Stormwater runoff is proposed to increase 0.06 cubic feet per second to 0.9 cubic feet per second. Downspouts would discharge to a dry well with a pop-up emitter. The existing driveway on the east side of the property would be removed and relocated to the west side of the property. Staff are of the opinion that apart from these items referred to in the architectural review staff report, the proposal meets the criteria for site plan review. Staff recommend approval with the condition that the applicant shall record a deed restriction noting the location and maintenance requirements of the dry well system and shall submit proof of the recording prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Thank you, Ryan. Would the applicant like to come up and make any additional comments related to the site plan review?
My name is Mike Thompson. I'm Thompson Design Group, the architect for the job. As a just comment to what was said there, I apologize. It was mistakenly put on the plan that we were going to use vinyl fencing for that. We would use a composite fence for that, for the fencing. Otherwise, we don't have a problem, of course, all with the deeding for the dry well system. Are there any questions?
No, but just in terms of, the staff made a comment that, the impervious coverage goes up significantly. It's still underneath the maximum, but you understand that there wouldn't be any outside space to be able to be constructed unless there's a variance because you can't create more,
Right.
impervious. I mean, is that?
The home is sold, so the future occupants, I guess, had the option of downsizing the home to create more outdoor space, and they chose not to. This is what they would like to do.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other comments related to the site plan review. Maybe first we'll see, is there anyone in the audience that wants to make any comments related to the site plan? If you would like, you can come up and give your name and.
Or the neighbors just to the rear of the property on Westmoreland Avenue.
Okay.
8137
Yes.
Westmoreland.
Okay, great.
As you may know, for technical reasons, none of the plans were available to review. Actually, we'll start some questions. First, we couldn't tell whether or not what the rear setback would be on the property, so we kind of had a question on that. And we didn't know what protections were going to be during construction permitted, were going to be allowed or required for the fence at the rear of the property. And there are 3 trees at the rear of the property. We were wondering if those trees were surviving, what protections were allowed. And those were certainly our questions about the site.
And also the height, what is the height of the?
Yeah, so I can, so with respect to the fencing requirements, if the plans were to be approved, there would have to be a construction fence that would go around the entire property. I am not entirely So I'm the aldermanic representative on the plan commission, so I'm not as adept at reading these plans as our other experts on the board. But in terms of
There's an
Carolyn,
existing plastic fence that divides the properties.
Vinyl.
And a vinyl fence, excuse me. And I'm not quite certain, how well that might survive more rigorous construction, whether there's some protection that will be required for it.
So we'd really like to get an answer on how far the setback.
And also
will-
the setback.
Right,
And
for
the
the new
setback.
house and the height of the new house.
Anna, what would be the setback between
The
the?
setback is at least 30 feet. It might be 30.
Okay, isn't the requirement 40 feet? For setbacks from the back of the house?
The setback is a minimum of 30 feet based on the depth of the lot.
And
So it's going to go back 30 feet.
there'll be 30 feet of rear yard.
Okay, great.
And currently
the-
there are
yeah.
3 trees, I think both all within that 30 feet. I was wondering what the plan is.
We have,
So the setback for the garage is 5 feet though, too. So the detached garage. Yeah, if you,
what does that mean? What does that
The
mean?
So the garage will now be positioned in the backyard as opposed to the front?
that's correct. Yes. So if you're looking at the screen here, yes, his cursor will hover over the detached garage, which is located 5 feet from the rear of the property. And then the rear of the home will be, that's the 30 feet.
So the garage will only be 5 feet from
From-
our fence?
That's
Okay,
And if I'm reading that correctly, the front of the house is the left of this diagram, or is it the top of the diagram?
the bu-
The bottom, thank you. So the garage is located then on what would be the west side of the property, is that? Terrific. And if I'm looking at the depth of that garage, that means you'll have to remove the tree that's on that rear west side. That garage has to be, you tell me.
the tree is on the east side.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
back.
So this is the existing condition you can see
Yes.
here. The scan is hard to tell, but the TBRs, that's roughly where a tree is being removed to be removed. So kind of near where his cursor is, that is a tree that they are removing.
Great, so I'm imagining then that the only tree surviving, if I'm looking at this, is the one in the rear east side of the lot, is that correct? There's a tree on the west side of the lot
Right.
that's kind of in the middle of that space that you have drawn the wiggly line around, excuse me for a non-technical term. And I believe there's also a tree in the eastern side of what I'm describing as that wiggly section. Are both of those being taken out?
Sir, can you come up to the microphone? Just,
I'm sorry.
it's just nobody can, when you speak, it's just nobody can hear on.
Oh.
It's
It's outside of the grading limits that they've shown there and for the fence that goes around it. So I would assume the tree is going called out to be removed.
So the 2 trees which are more easterly will survive, and the tree on the west, because the garage is going to go where it is, will be taken out.
Right, it's right where the driveway is, yes.
Okay.
Go into the garage.
Okay, and what about the height of the new place?
there's that picture. Are you guys?
Right, so the height is discussed in the architectural review staff report. But if you scroll down to the comparison one. Or it might be up.
You'll have to come back up again.
Well, we're happy
That's,
to-
yeah, no, I think it might be up actually. And it looks like on that same sheet that we were just looking at with the demolition plan, they're installing a construction fence that will be, at least they've shown on that plan, that would be inside of that vinyl fence.
But the height of the house.
That he's scrolling to that right now.
It's 30 feet
Oh, okay.
or close to 30 feet,
30
just a little bit less.
Okay.
Terrific. That
There's-
actually is very
there's
close.
a
Oh, there's the
comparison there.
comparison right there.
So it is a little bit.
Terrific. That make.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Okay.
comparison. Great.
Well, and I think it's confusing because it's not to the top of the roof, the 30 feet, it's to like the middle of the roof. Just for your,
With the 2 properties.
Okay.
Side.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
visual
Terrific.
comparison.
And that's accurate, right? To
Yep.
scale?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. And so I guess then now that I understand what you're doing with the lot in the back and the house size, that just leads to our question of, especially since you're building the garage right to the rear where there is
Which
a
is-
significant amount of fencing, I'm assuming there'll be some requirement of protection for that vinyl fence
There'll be a construction fence in front.
inside of it.
Yes.
Normally,
it's-
we put up it's a wood construction
Mhm.
fence, site-proof, 6-foot fence that will be around it during all of the construction.
And I have a question for after the house is constructed. Since the house is, since the garage is coming back so much further than the current house is,
Mhm.
and it's very much closer to our fence, is there going to be, or could we request that you put any landscaping up to ensure privacy or some greenery behind the garage, between the garage and our fence?
Oh, there is.
Or, and if not, can we request it?
Landscape plan, there is landscaping going all the way down the driveway.
Oh.
But I'm asking about the
Remembering
back
that
of the yard.
Rear.
Do you know what will be behind the garage, or like what? will
There's
they-
only 5 feet.
Well, at this.
Well, like,
point,
will there be grass? Will be, I mean,
Correct.
grass.
Grass.
Okay.
And there's an elevation of the rear of the garage. It's very nice
Oh.
looking rear of the garage, but I can-
Yes. So we
Oh,
have to
okay.
take a look at that. Great, thank you.
Like a photo?
On the garage. That's the rear. Oh, I see. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so that's only gonna, that window is only gonna be 5 feet away from our property.
But that will be covered by. You'll see.
Oh,
that.
this is the house. Oh, I see,
Yeah,
I see.
That's the garage. Yep, okay, great, I understand that.
Oh, okay.
Elevation, thank you. I think that helps a great deal.
Can we request that consideration be given to putting something, some kind of privacy or landscaping planting between the garage and our property?
Yes, yeah, we could definitely do that, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to ask these
Thank
questions.
you. Sorry, this is our first time here. so-
No, no, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
It's good to ask questions while you're here. Are there any other comments related to site plan? If not, nobody's online, nobody has their hands up, so I will take a motion.
Wait, we didn't go around because I just have a quick
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry.
That's
Just
okay.
for site plan. I
Yeah, I
apologize.
guess I'm just concerned that we are building a house that without any sort of patio, any sort of decking is hitting the impervious limit. And I just think that we should not be approving this for that reason.
I think, well, he mentioned that they've already bought the house and they don't want any sort of outside. Because you've talked to the owners about it
I
and
mean,
they,
I haven't personally, but
Okay.
Linda's with the building company, they have. And so, yeah, really the option of, like they had mentioned is, you can build the house smaller and of course have more outdoor patio.
deck or.
And they've chosen not to do that.
Right, but I don't think we should allow that.
Allow.
To say we're gonna build a brand new house, because I mean, they might be,
There's, when you say that there's a pathway, there's stairs going down, there's a pathway to the garage. There's driveway space there, so, I mean, there's spaces there that can be used as a patio.
I just think setting a standard for a brand new build on a lot that is already maxing out an impervious coverage, which we already have issues with absolutely, I mean, you might have like a little, sort of a little, I don't know, I just think, well, I think it's naive of any new homeowner to think that that would, in the end, be something that they would want to do. And then I think even down the road, the next homeowner is gonna be like, oh, I want to throw a deck up, whatever. And so I just think from this commission, it's just like, I don't think that we should approve that for that.
If I could jump in here, I hear what you're saying and it's valid. I can only say that there's been a trend for a very, very long time that small apartment buildings are being replaced by larger ones with almost no backyard. Single-family homes with the backyard that we all grew up with has quickly vanished for much smaller backyards as the homes have dramatically increased in size. And I think your point is, does this go too far?
Yes.
And I would just say, it shouldn't be a deal breaker for the city to make that call. It may not be my taste, but that's not my job, you know?
Helen, do you?
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about the outdoor space in the backyard as I am about the driveway. The distance between the face of the garage and the house is 18 feet 6 inches. And the average car sedan is 14.7 feet.
I mean, the second space, the space to the left in the garage, I'll admit it, is not, I mean, you're not gonna pull a Suburban in there. So it has to do
Mm.
with the car that you would have. The one space, of course, is very easily, and just go right in. So it becomes, we've,
So in the right-hand space, I drive straight in, curve a bit,
right,
and then to get out, I don't have any space other than that curve where I came in. So I'm going to have to turn my car 180 degrees to go out.
yes, if you want to turn around to go out, right?
Otherwise, you're going to back down that.
That's what I see a lot of people doing.
Okay. No, I have seen houses built and then the developer and the architect with the owner trying to figure out how to get the car that they've driven down into the garage. How do you get it out? So just a
Are you-
thought.
Is she right? Is the bottom line, you cannot turn the car around at the end of the yard where the garage is?
It depends, I mean, it really depends on the size of the car, as far as, could you turn it around or not? There isn't a turnaround space. In other words, there's not a 10-foot area of more driveway that goes into the backyard that allows you to have a designated turnaround space. There's about a 20 by 20 pad there of driveway. And so, again,
For them to
could you
turn,
turn around a Suburban in a 20 by 20 area? Why would it take you a lot of turns?
Let me just-
It's probably possible, but
let me
yeah.
just get to reality.
Mhm.
If I live there and I pull my car in to get out, can I back it up into the grass to turn it around?
Oh, certainly you could. Yes. I mean, it's
I
obviously.
mean,
your-
something's
your
going to give
property.
way to make that happen. You're not going to be going backwards the whole length of the lot.
Some
Yeah.
people might though. I mean.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
wanna check out
I
your car.
can't
I mean,
tell
everybody's
people that
got
they can't back
everybody's
out.
got
No,
cameras,
I
so
can't.
I don't know. I mean.
Well, it's not enough for me to vote against it, but I think there's going to be a practical solution and somebody's going to buy some gravel and pour it into part of the remaining backyard to turn it around.
I could just, the builder of this, Mike Manlin, lived at 8140 Kingsbury, which you all approved a couple years ago. It had exactly the same setup with exactly the same distance. He lived there for a year and then sold it, but it worked out fine. Now, was I there to see how they did that? No, but it worked out fine, and other people live there now, and it's working out fine for them. So that's I guess what I can tell you.
No, I was looking at the driveway as well, but the comments have been made.
I
that
think
was-
there might be somebody online too that has
Yeah.
a question or comment. Mr. or Mrs. Wu? You're on, you're muted. Still muted if you want to make a comment. Unmute yourself.
Can type in their question. Well,
Put your comment in the chat or question.
We don't have a
Oh, I'm sorry.
chat.
We can come back to you too if you're not sure how to unmute. Kimi, I absolutely, I agree with you. I can't imagine building a house like that and then not having any outside space to enjoy other than a driveway, but, it's hard for, I think as long as certainly the homeowner and the applicant know that they can't build a deck, they can't build a patio because, so, oh, it looks like here, Mr. Wood? Jason? Would you like to talk, comment, question? Can't hear you. Now, oh. Ask your question. Still can't hear you. Not calling me.
They're calling.
No.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. iPhone challenges with the new update. We're actually the buyers, potential buyers of the property.
Okay.
We did ask questions about the backspace because we desire a much greater space than the 5x8. And questions that we had would be, could we increase or could we have a deck built if we were to go with a pervious, like a paver on the driveway, if not the entire area of the driveway and going to butt to the garage? Would that potentially allow us to do a deck? And then what type of deck could we have? And, something underneath that is going to be pervious. That is a concern or desire of ours, to have the outdoor space versus a 5x8 pad, which we really couldn't do much with.
I would say, Jason, I'm not sure. It's hard to kind of understand if you're just kind of providing like hypotheticals. Do you want time to go back and review your plans? Because you can't build a deck or a patio under the plans that are submitted tonight, because that just exceeds, it's a small lot. So there's just only so much impervious coverage allowed.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't believe
Yeah, we'll have to go back to the plans.
And do pavers. I'll let our planning director will just speak to the pavers that you spoke about.
Okay.
Sure. So at this point, our code does not address pavers as providing an alternative on your driveway to increase your impervious coverage elsewhere. So we have had instances where people have to provide an analysis. Essentially, you'd be asking for a waiver. So you would have to provide the analysis and support for your request, and then the board would consider that. But if you just wanted to get this project approved and then come back and do that, it would not be an amendment that staff could approve, because right now you are at the maximum lot coverage, and decks still count as lot coverage and pavers still count as lot coverage.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I guess Mr. Wood, do you want to proceed forward? Do you want to look at your plans and come back? What are your thoughts?
You're shaking your head. What?
proceed forward.
Proceed forward. Proceed forward. Then.
Okay. All right. If there's no other comments, I will take a motion. I think so, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommendation and adding a number 2 recommendation that there be planting area, screening planting area on the, I guess it's the south side of the garage, between the fence and the garage.
Do I have a second?
Just make sure I understand. I thought it was only 5 feet between the garage and the fence and that there wasn't enough room.
5 feet, you can get something in there.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Now we will go towards the architectural review.
The proposed new home in Clayton Gardens incorporates some of the neighborhood's architectural features with a hipped roof, gables, and a stone-framed recessed front entry. The home's height of 29 feet, 7 inches would be taller than that of neighboring homes, but it adheres to the height regulations. Clayton Gardens requires that the use of height mitigation measures, which were not clarified by the applicant. Staff have observed the use of an increased setback in both side yards. The east side of the home includes box bays that project out from the facade by 2 feet and increase the mass of the home. Staff are of the opinion that the addition of plantings on the east side of the home, in combination with the reduced setbacks, should be sufficient to mitigate the height of the new structure. The new home would be constructed of brick with stone and stucco as accent materials. The color or type of brick has not been specifically noted, but the renderings provided depict a pink tone of brick. Windows are proposed to be white with stone banding. Stucco board painted white is proposed for a portion of the east side of the rear facades, the east side and rear facades. The detached garage would be constructed of matching brick and will feature identical accents to the home. HVAC units and trash are proposed to be screened with vinyl fencing. The surrounding properties contain a variety of fencing, including vinyl, wood, and chain link fencing. Staff are of the opinion that materials conforming to the current guidelines should be used and that the proposed screening materials should be revised. Exposed aggregate is proposed to connect the front and rear entries. Staff are of the opinion that the design meets the architectural review requirements and is compatible with the surrounding area. Staff recommend approval with the following conditions. 1, the landscape plan shall be revised to add additional taller plantings along the east side of the home. And 2, the proposed screening and enclosure fence materials shall be revised to conform to the architectural review guidelines.
Want to make any further comments? Do you have an idea of what it says the brick has not been specifically noted? Is it,
Well, we have a rendering.
I know, is the rendering pretty accurate?
No, I was told no, did I?
Oh,
They
okay.
want to do a whitish gray brick, black windows. And then there'll be copper gutters on the house, and accents as far as in the lights, that type of thing.
So this really doesn't depict at all,
Color wise, no, it doesn't.
but the style does though.
Right,
Yeah, it's
everything
just
else,
the style.
yeah,
Okay.
the style and the amount of windows, everything else would stay other than the colors.
And then you've already said that there's no plan to use vinyl to cover or to go around the.
Right, we'd use composite, yes.
Okay. Are there, it looks like any comments from the audience on the architecture?
We would really probably let the owners decide. Initially, we were thinking of a white fence.
We'll just go around and see what everyone thinks. So just so we're clear, so you said the house will be a white gray? Is that
Yes.
just so
Yes,
white gray and then,
with black windows.
and gutters and
The gutters would be copper. Copper gutters and accents. As far as the light on the front would be copper.
It might be worthwhile to postpone this particular consideration until you can figure out the material types and put those on plans that we would actually approve. I just want everybody to be really clear about what we have in front of us and what we're considering this evening. It sounds like we don't necessarily have that.
yeah. I
It would
think
also give the applicant time to think about that deck maybe a little bit more as well. If the applicant thinks that he would like to put a deck on that house and that he may come forward with a building permit application for a deck at some point in the future, I think it's better to take that into consideration now than have the deck turned down at some point. And yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, especially with the architecture here, but buy time for the deck consideration as well. So, just want to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would kind of agree. I mean, I'm a little concerned about that. I understand maybe Mr. Wood did say he wanted to proceed forward, but kind of said at the beginning of his comments that he perhaps wanted to consider alternatives. So, but if you would be amenable, we'd come back and you can be clear on what materials are going to be used with the home.
I mean, we could, yes.
You want to come up, Pam?
Linda Clark, I work with the builders. When we did this, when we first started, excuse me, it was a spec home and this was the color the builder was going to do. And then I think when it just recently got purchased, we met with the buyers and they wanted to do the different colors. So it was for sure black windows, black and white brick on the front. And then the trim is probably going to be black, but they're not for sure yet. Be a black roof.
Okay. I mean, I think all the more reason, maybe because if they're not sure on what they want to do, I think it also gives you an opportunity to perhaps discuss with them their thoughts on deck or any sort of outside space,
Yeah.
which again, under what is right now, it would not be allowed. So,
And they hadn't discussed the deck with us yet.
okay. So can we perhaps, if it would be all right, why don't we just do a motion to table this to a different meeting? If that's all right?
Architecture.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Right, so then the building department will be in touch with you on the next meeting date.
You have access to Citizen Serve, so if you could upload the material notes of what you're doing, thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. Does anybody have anything else to add? Anna? Anybody? Anybody? All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody.